welcome to Have You Heard, the show that puts the state in current state of affairs. I'm Maisie Whip and have I got news for you? Oh shit, where am I? Oh, who cares? Anyway, I'm joined here today by brilliant co-host Laurie to talk to us all about politics. How are you, Laurie?
I'm not too bad, thank you, Maisie. A little bit warm.
Well, that'll be global warming for you. And I'm also joined by Tom to talk to us about sports. How are you, Tom?
I'm very well. It's been an enlightening week.
Really? Enlighten us.
Well, did you know that the clitoris exists?
Groundbreaking. First up tonight, Channel 4 have just announced a new festive edition of the channel's ever-successful show, Naked Attraction. The hour-long special will air on Christmas Day, right between their two new politically neutral and ever-so-festive programmes, Brexit and The Liars, The Witch and The Cabinet, Magical Adventures in Toryland. Festive thirsty home Mary Claus is rumoured to be the celebrity penis picker, who'll pick between contestants Buddy the Elf, Ebenezer Scrooge, Jack Skellington, and in a typical reality TV twist, her husband Santa Claus joins the lineup as she eliminates them one by one based on their, well, you know how it works. Guess it's time to see how big Santa's sack really is. In other news, a family well known for all the wrong reasons is the Kardashian-Jenner family. They've revealed they're expecting a baby in the mid-2020. Bookies currently have 5 to 4 odds on the child having between 4 and 6 middle names. So, as a special treat, tonight we're going to be looking at what we think other celebrity babies would have looked like. Here's Liam Hemsworth and Miley Cyrus's baby. Oh, what could have been? How about Ariana Grande and Pete Davidson's? Whoa, good job they split. And seeing as there's so many new Kardashians now, we've just chucked them all together to get one ultimate cash grab baby. Care, Wave, Destiny, Peace, Hope, Keith Kardashian, with a K. Beautiful. Now I'm going to hand over to Laurie for a bit of an overview on today's political landscape. Laurie, over to you.
Cheers, Maisie. So, today we're in Manchester asking people the all-important question of who they think is best for Britain. Corbyn or Johnson, Labour or the Tories, whether they want a BJ or the second coming of JC.
Decided, but for the first time ever, I'm very tempted to actually vote for the Green Party.
I'm voting for Labour because the majority of this country is a lot more important than Brexit and billionaires' interest.
I'm voting for Labour because I'm really clumsy, so I really value NHS. I also like my holidays as well, so I like a bit of freedom of movement.
I'm voting for Labour because I think it's the right choice for the NHS.
What's the question? I'm voting for Jeremy Corbyn because I don't think it really matters where all this money's going to come from. At least he cares about the people.
I have no idea who I want to vote for. I think that they're just all rubbish. We should just overthrow the government, to be honest.
I want to vote Labour because Boris and save the NHS.
I will be voting for Labour. I'm really scared about the NHS being privatised and I really need the NHS, so I think that's the main reason why I'll be voting Labour.
I'm voting Labour because I don't believe in Tory policies.
I think Boris, as bonkers as he is would be better on the world stage than Jeremy Corbyn.
I'm voting Labour just because I think they'll do better things for the NHS. I think they'll do good work for kind of the working class, whereas I think the Conservatives care a bit too much about the 1%.
I'm going to vote for Labour because it helps massively with education.
So I'm voting this election for Labour because I can't stand Boris Johnson and his outdated, old-fashioned ideals that he stands for.
So it seems the general consensus in Manchester is that people have rejected Boris Johnson and tend instead to support Jeremy Corbyn. Wouldn't it be nice if the rest of his party did the same? Now, I'm going to put a question to the group here, right? What do you think makes a good Prime Minister?
Right, they've got to start off by making a cup of tea with the bag first. None of this milk in the pot.
None of that nonsense.
Rubbish. None of that. They've got to be able to hold someone's hair back as they're being sick in a toilet.
A staple of British culture, as it seems.
Yeah. They've got to know what a wet dog smells like.
I mean, fair enough. Moving very swiftly on from that last comment. Are we all feeling a bit sick and tired of hearing about politics?
Yes.
Well, tough shit, because the news today is simply full of it. Both parties have released manifestos this week, with Boris Johnson promising to tackle immigration and NHS waiting times after strenuously Googling what do old people like to moan about. While Jeremy Corbyn's Labour manifesto promises free broadband and a can of Red Bull to all voters after he'd been searching up how to fool youngsters in 2019. Of course, in time for the election, we've had a series of debates. In the ITV debate, for example, we saw Boris Johnson taking a leaf out of Priti Patel's book, stating that poor people should just simply stop being poor. As Corbyn made it very clear that he makes his own damson jam, and no, we don't mean the sort of jam that's been stopping Labour from being efficient opposition for the last decade. On another note now, Boris Johnson this week claimed that Wales is closer to China than New Zealand, a fact that quite clearly has, checked by Diane Abbott, written all over it.
Should New Zealand be supplying huge quantities of lamb to China when we in the UK do not, when we in Wales do not? When as far as I know, and I think somebody better check this quickly because it occurred to me when I was driving here, as far as I know, Wales is closer to China than New Zealand is, as the crow flies. You might want to check that statistic. Well, can someone just check that? I think as the crow flies, there's not much in it anyway.
That fact there coming to you from the Fisher-Price Department of Geography. Mind you, with the way climate change is going, in a few years Boris Johnson could actually be right. Back to you, Maisie.
Thanks, Laurie. In other news, a group of holidaymakers found themselves trapped on an island that, well, isn't Britain. So why we're bothering to report it? Because it was British travel agent Thomas Cook that stranded them. The massive travel agent went down a few weeks ago, and yes, I do mean that in the boring way. This may actually be the only time where holidaymakers who have opted for a staycation here in the UK have got it better than those who went abroad. One spokesperson said he was absolutely distraught that he had to spend an extra week in Benidorm whilst everything was sorted out. But he sent his love to those back home, including his brother, who was spending a fortnight in Cornwall with the wife and kids, battling against the elements in a shitty tent. Speaking of, let's find out what shitstorm the UK is facing this week. Here's Ginger Hunter with the weather.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you. My name is Ginger Hunter and this is today's weather. Now, today in Scotland there will be heavy showers and winds of up to 40 miles per hour. Personally, I'm not a fan of Scotland. Something about Scottish men in kilts, a man in a skirt is just sick and wrong. Tonight, however, we will be seeing a dry spell down south. I have been experiencing a dry spell down south myself. The only way I can get lucky in the bedroom is if I do a scratch card in bed. Peterborough. Where the is Peterborough? Peterborough is just down here near Cambridge. Now Cambridge is the arsehole and Peterborough is the hemorrhoid. Peterborough will be seeing the worst of the UK weather, however, with storms and lightning predicted throughout the week, as well as a small hurricane. Just imagine those poor people in Peterborough wandering around aimlessly, looking dishevelled, and then the hurricane hits. Throughout the northwest, floods are also predicted. The Met Office has predicted up to 6 inches of rainfall. But the Met Office is just a bunch of men, and in my experience, when men promise 6 inches, they usually mean 3. If you are put off by the cold, just wait until climate change turns the entire planet into a scorching field of hell. Personally, I'm welcoming it with open arms. Think of the fur coats we could make out of polar bears. I'm doing everything I can to encourage climate change. Greta Thunberg, eat your heart out. That is it for today's weather. I have been Ginger Hunter. Have a lovely afternoon. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks for that, Ginger. What an interesting weather forecast. Now, speaking of dry spells, next up it's Tom with sports.
Thank you very much, Maisie. You are correct, it has been a while. I asked out Ginger and she said that I've got a shower if I want to have a chance. And I said, don't try and change me. Right, on with the sport news. Right, United are still shit and have been since Fergie left. I put a fiver on them the other day, and what are you doing? For God's sake. Right, in other sporting news, rugby, boring. Cricket, boring. Tennis, boring, but some of them are a bit fit. Volleyball, fit. Foxy boxing, also fit, but they lack the fundamentals. Back to you, Maisie.
Well, sadly, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us. I've been Maisie Whip.
I've been Laurie Freeman.
I've been Horny.
He's been Tom Short. And here's a quick reminder to always spay and neuter your neighbours. Good night.
Oh, honestly, right.